Listening Library presents That's So Raven, Books 1 through 3. What You See is What You Get, Rescue Me, and In Raven We Trust. Adapted by Alice Alfonsi. Read for you by Joniece Abbott-Pratt.
What you see is what you get. Part 1. Chapter 1. Bring it on, world. I'm ready for you, thought Raven Baxter as she strolled through the halls of San Francisco's Bayside Junior High. Her new pink lip gloss looked super fine, with her pink sweater and pink pants. Her jet black ponytail sat high on her head in a style that was totally smooth and sleek. And her hairband, with the adorable purple flower, perfectly matched her long suede jacket. All right, she thought. I am looking good in the neighborhood. Singing to herself, Raven snapped her fingers to a song she'd heard that morning on the radio. Her best friend, Chelsea Daniels, was at home with a cold. So Raven kept an eye out for her other best friend, Eddie Thomas. She found him hanging out by their lockers. Walking over, she was about to ask, "What's up?" when she realized nothing was. Absolutely nothing. Her boy was standing still as a statue, staring into space. And, drooling. Okay, right, thought Raven. This could mean only one of two things. One, Eddie needed a paramedic's attention, and quick. Or two, her best friend had floated up to that crystal daydream cloud again. Raven followed Eddie's stare, down the school hallway and straight into Crystal's pretty face. Well, thought Raven, at least I don't have to call 911. I know that stare, Raven said loudly into Eddie's ear. That's the crystal stare, and that was the crystal drool. Gross. The boy had it bad. Eddie shook himself free of the crystal cloud. I don't know what you're talking about, he said, wiping his chin. Obviously, her friend had come back down to earth in total denial. You've wanted to talk to that girl all year, Raven told him. Why don't you just ask her to... Raven's mind ran through the possibilities. Dinner was out. It sounded too formal, and it could scare Crystal away. The movies weren't a great idea either. You couldn't really get to know a person just staring up at a big screen for hours. Then Raven's eye caught sight of the banner hanging in the school hallway. That was it! Why don't you just ask her to the Charity Drive Carnival this Saturday? She suggested. I don't know, Ray, said Eddie, shaking his head. I know you're shy. It's okay, said Raven. But I know a perfect way to get her to notice you. How? Eddie asked. In a deep voice, Raven shouted down the hall. Yo, Crystal! Quickly, Raven wheeled away to face the wall of lockers. For a split second, Eddie froze. He could not believe Raven had just done that. In a panic, he spun away too. The hallway was crowded with students, so when Crystal looked up to see who had called her, she didn't notice Raven or Eddie. Both were looking way too busy opening their lockers. And since no one else stepped forward, Crystal just shrugged and walked away. Raven turned to see her best friend hugging his locker tighter than a toddler with his favorite blankie. Eddie, snapped Raven. I mean, if you're trying to date a locker, you got it going on. Raven rolled her eyes. She knew Eddie was shy about making the first move, but she'd just given her boy the perfect opening, and he'd blown it. A pep talk. That's what Eddie needed. But when Raven opened her mouth to give it, a powerful smell raced up her nostrils. P.U. The odor was so foul, so nasty, it jammed up her ability to speak, let alone think. Do you smell that? Asked Eddie, wrinkling his nose. Yeah, said Raven. She pinched her nose and waved her hand toward Eddie. I was trying to be polite and not say nothing. Now you know that's not me, said Eddie, insulted. The smell was not only nasty, Raven realized. It was familiar. And sure enough, when she and Eddie turned to look, they saw a familiar face. "Ben Sturky!" they cried together. Raven could practically see Ben's body odor drifting off him in stinky waves as he strolled down the hallway. The kid had a grunge thing going, too. Greasy hair, wrinkled cargo pants, and an old T-shirt with an open shirt and jacket tossed over it. That was an all-right look if you were part of an underground garage band, but Ben took it too far. He didn't like to bathe, and he'd apparently never heard the word deodorant. With his nose in a textbook, Ben obviously didn't notice the line of kids diving out of his way as he passed. When he walked by Eddie, he accidentally bumped into him. "Sorry," Ben muttered as he continued down the hall. Eddie looked horrified. Ben Sturky had actually touched him. "Ew!" cried Eddie. "Does that guy ever take a shower? Man, I've got a second-hand stink here." "Try having him in science," said Raven. "You know, my brother's hamster smells better, and it died 2 weeks ago." Eddie looked horrified again. "Cuddles died?" Raven sighed. "He died the same way he lived, on the wheel." Eddie nodded and continued talking, but Raven didn't hear him. For a split second, Raven froze, and the whole world seemed to stop. Through her eye, the vision runs. Flash of future, here it comes. I see my science class. Sunlight is streaming through the tall windows, and there I am, sitting at my usual lab table, wearing my pink sweater and purple suede jacket. I see Ben Sturky. He's walking up to me. Right up to me. No way! He's putting his arms around my neck. Oh! Stinky Sturky is hugging me close. Now he's saying something. "This is gonna be great," he cries. When the vision ended, Raven felt sick. She turned to Eddie. "I just saw Ben Sturky put his arms around me." Eddie grimaced. "Do your visions usually come true?" he asked. Raven nodded, her eyes welling up. "Yeah," she said, in a teensy-weensy, terrified voice. But there was no time for tears or fears. The late bell was about to ring, and she had to get to class. Science class, just like her vision. When Raven arrived, her science teacher was standing near the doorway, handing out homework instructions as students entered. "All right, class," Mrs. DePaulo announced. "Your science projects are due on Monday, so I'm going to assign each of you a partner." "Partners?" repeated Raven. She glanced across the science lab. In the sea of familiar faces, one fish stood out. One stinky fish. Ben Sturky. "Oh no," thought Raven in a panic. "Ben's going to be my partner. There's got to be a way to change my vision." She turned to Mrs. DePaulo. "Do you really think having partners is a fair evaluation of our individual contributions to the world of science?" Raven asked. "I'm just saying." The science teacher was no pushover. She narrowed her eyes at Raven. "Yes, I do," she snapped. "And I'm just saying." "Well, what about Diane?" suggested Raven, gesturing to her friend. "'Cause, you see, we have a chemistry, which must work well in science. I mean, chemistry, science, chemistry, science." "Diane's with Leland," Mrs. DePaulo said, flatly. "Okay," said Raven. "What about Tina? What about Christina? What about Robert?" Before Raven could go through the entire class roster, Mrs. DePaulo cut her off. "Raven, I've already assigned partners. I know.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?